What's been going on? Last time I talked to your wife was working like crazy because she's in the medical field, and
Yep.
you know, I think kids were doing homeschooling at that point. Is that still the case, or what are we doing?
Kids are back in-person learning in Ontario, or at least in Niagara. So the house is a little quieter. Amanda's still working like gangbusters. Like she walks from the bed to her chair because we created a makeshift office in our bedroom. It was the only quiet space in the house. So yeah, she works basically until I drag her off of her laptop at 5:15 for a beer.
Holy smokes! Well, that was the thing. Last time you told us how to make the midday Tim Hicks margarita because that's how we unwind, right?
That's we've talked about that many times about like kind of drawing a line between the workday and the non-work day. And that was, maybe not the best for your health wise, but for us mentally was the way that's the way that we connect is like, I'll see you for a beer at 5, that kind of thing as we cook dinner.
I
And
was saying this to my wife the other day. I said it must be tough for people to work from home. I get to go in. She's at home with our daughter, who's a year and a half, and
yeah,
I said for those that are working from home all the time, how do you disconnect? Because now your home is also your office. So do you guys
yeah.
have like a no cell phone policy for an hour or a no work email policy or anything like that?
In fact, we just talked about this last night. So, I mean, we were talking about that very thing, like the importance to disconnect, at some point, because you can just get so wrapped up in it because you just feel like you're working all the time. And that's true even pre-pandemic for me. Like, and I think any business owner understands that when you're an entrepreneur and you're the guy or the girl, you're answering emails until the cows come home because there's no one else to do it. So, but for your mental health, it's so important. And I mean, the research supports that too. That's why we were reading an article and then talking about it as we were falling asleep last night. Like, it's so important to have to disconnect. So, I try my best. Like, for instance, at the end of the night when we're just hanging out watching a show, I'll leave my phone in the kitchen. And sometimes I miss things and I don't get back to people until 7 a.m., but that's okay. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
you think back to 20 years ago,
yeah,
nobody had to worry about this. Once you were done at work, you were done. You got to focus on family. You got to not feel connected all the time. And I'm sure you're like me and your wife's like me. And I think we're all in the same boat where, man, even if you got your phone in your pocket for 5 minutes, you're like, did I miss an email? Do I have to be
yes,
responding to something? It's
yes.
wild.
Yeah, and it causes tension too, like if I'm working into the night or she's working into the night, it's, the other person often gets a little bit irritated with them, like, hey, pay attention to me now, please, like that kind of thing. And I've had lots of discussions with her about that, like having to be patient, especially in our business, because creative people don't necessarily work from 9 to 5. So I could get a mix to listen to at 9:30 and have to go approve it, and that's just the way it is, but that's why I try, like, ignorance is bliss. So if my phone is in the other room and I don't see it come in, I don't get to it till 7, and it keeps everybody happy and we're good to go. You know what I
It's
mean?
pretty much the only way these days is you got to keep your cell phone away for at least an hour a day. Like put it
Yeah.
somewhere else. And you're right, it has to be somewhere else. It
Yep.
has to go away for a little bit, or you'll have the temptation in your pocket all the time to, well, maybe just one quick check.
Well, and it affects your sleep too. That was the other article that I read this morning, I think on CBC, or maybe Amanda sent it to me, because I've been having sleep trouble since this whole thing started, for all the obvious reasons. And one of the things that they said is, like, you got to get rid of that blue light, man. You got to have like a tech curfew, but for me, like, man, I love that hour of Netflix before I fall asleep. I look forward to it, and if Amanda's going to read, I'll watch it on the iPad next to her with my headphones on, you know what I mean? And so it's,
I do that
it's a
too.
hard habit to break, but I'm going to try my best to break it.
What have you been watching? Because my thing has been Yellowstone before I go to bed, and it gets me too revved up. And I'll be
Oh,
like, okay, well, one more 45-minute episode isn't that bad. And then it's 2 in the morning, and I'm thinking, what am I doing to myself here?
yeah. I tend to watch mini series. So I just finished Manhunt Unabomber. So I love stories that are based in true life. So that was a series obviously about the fella, about the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, and the fella that actually developed the it's called linguistic forensics, which is what helped him get a warrant to arrest him. So
And you
anyway,
wonder why you're having a hard time sleeping. You're watching things about the
that's
Unabomber before
Unabomber.
trying to fall asleep.
Yeah, as packages are arriving on our doorstep every day, all day long. Like, is this the last one I'm going to open? I don't know.
You
But
mentioned
yeah,
watching stuff because we do on our show every day. We call it a one call debate. We bring up a topic. My co-host has a side, Harriet. I have a side. One caller gets to pick what they agree with. But when we have amazing people like you to talk to, you get to wipe out the previous day's answer and you can flip the decision from the day before.
Love
So
it.
today's is,
What was
what
it?
would you rather do? If you're going to do something tonight, would you rather watch a movie or a series?
Okay, so here's the deal. I'd rather watch a movie.
Oh no.
Because I'm the kind of guy, but let me preface this. Like, I'm the kind of guy, like, I can watch the same movie over the next 4 nights. Just pause it, go to bed, wake up, watch it a little bit. My wife hates that. If we're going to watch a movie, she wants to be committed to the time to know that we can watch it and see it through. But that doesn't bother me because I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't bother me, but especially if it's something I've seen before, like if we're going to throw on like, Talladega Nights,
Shake
and
and bake.
exactly. Like I can watch 20 minutes of it, shut it off. And then the next day while I'm folding laundry, flip it on again. And it doesn't bother me, but for her, it really it irritates her. Like it's almost like an
I'm
itch that needs to be scratched. Like she's got to see it all the way through,
I'm with your wife. You're psychotic. The fact that you can watch a little bit and just watch it, like you have to. If you're gonna start something, you have to finish it. You can't just be like, I'll watch a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you wouldn't do that in a movie theater. It's like you wouldn't pay your $20 and then go in and watch 20 minutes. Yeah, like, hey everybody, I'm a little tired. We're gonna have to pick this thing up tomorrow. Like that.
We'll do this tomorrow at 9 a.m. Everybody, we'll restart this.
Right. But when you're in the comfort of your own home, hey, anything goes. There are no rules.
I see all the recording equipment. Did you record the new single, The Good, the Bad, and the Pretty in your little home lab there? Or was that something you had to go do and strap on a mask and do COVID protocols to record?
Well, we actually had that one already cut prior to the pandemic.
No way.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff in the can, as they say in the biz, in the can. That just means that it was cut prior to all this and is ready to go whenever we want to release it. So I've got some tunes that I've been waiting to release, and I've been writing a ton lately. Really embracing the Zoom culture for writing. I wrote with the Trues yesterday, actually, which was
that's really so cool.
Yeah, they're such great guys. Our paths have crossed so many times because they actually lived in Niagara Falls. And we played the same venues for a little while and sort of chased each other around. And then, as our careers happened, I've seen them at events and we've chit chatted and hung out, and they're really great guys. So finally we were like, hey, let's write a song. So
speaking of those venues you guys used to be at together, that is sort of the behind the scenes on The Good, the Bad, and the Pretty, right? Is those small little bars that you played before,
exactly,
you got to play the bigger shows, right?
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to pay tribute to all the little rooms and all the people that I met over the years in those small town bars that, because typically I would set myself up to play one bar in each town kind of thing. Like if there was a bar to play, for instance, if I went to Guelph, Ontario, I only played one bar in Guelph. I didn't have 2 bars in Guelph. So you kind of get to know the regulars and you get to know everybody. But what I loved about those small town bars was that you'd see all different sorts of people there. There'd be professionals in their suits after work. The bikers would roll in. There'd be a family eating chicken wings in the corner. There's a cover band on stage. There's young people show up later on. And, you get the most wonderful mix of people, and there's never any trouble or seldom any trouble. And I really wanted to pay tribute to that and to all the people that I met over the years, some of which are still very good friends of mine.
One of my favorite things about those small town bars, we used to do this thing. We grew up here in Calgary, me and my buddies. And in our 20s, we would rent a party bus and we would do what we called a drink a bar dry night. We would go to a small town that wasn't expecting about 30 of us to walk in, and we'd try and drink as much of their alcohol as we possibly could. And sometimes you get down to like, oh, I guess I'm drinking the Cinzano now because we're out of rum and vodka.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was usually working and driving the van, so I didn't really get to participate much, which is the big lie of my career, right? Like, that Tim Hicks is the party guy, but for all those years I was playing in bars, I was driving the van. So I was the only sober guy at the end of the night. The staff would be smashed and the audience would be smashed and the band would be falling asleep. And I'd be like, hey, come on, let's get going. I want to get home and watch MASH and eat a sandwich.
MASH!
A little bit like that,
As a former bartender, we used to have what we called safety meetings. And it'd be a super busy Friday night. There would be a Tim Hicks on the stage.
Yep.
And somebody would yell out, "Safety meeting!" And all the bartenders would get together for a shot. And then you'd go back to doing your crazy busy job.
Oh, again. You did shots on your safety meetings. Okay. Yeah. So you didn't play in a band then. Okay.
So give me one, like I know you have so many awesome memories from those small town bar days, but give me one memory that stands out very clearly to you. Like that was a crazy cool night.
Okay. this is both awesome and one of the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to me at the same time. So I was playing, and it came to mind because I just was doing an interview with a station in Windsor, Ontario, which is a place I used to play. And we used to play up on this perch. So we were above the audience, and it got really hot up there. And one night, I overheated, like a hockey player would overheat. And what happens when you overheat? You throw up. So I threw up on stage while we were playing. So I knew it was coming, and I managed to hang on. In those days, we ended the night with "Gimme Shelter" by the Rolling Stones, and I was playing bass in this particular band, and I finished the singing part, and I knew it was coming, and I walked back next to the drummer's hi-hat, and I knelt down, and I just started throwing up all over the place, and it was just water, from the gig, but still. And he's playing like this. He's like, "Hey!" Full on band's playing. Audience is dancing. Solos happening. He's playing. "Hey, are you throwing up? That's awesome. That's awesome." And I'm still playing like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Because you couldn't, the show must go on, right? And so I was like, "End the song." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "End the song." He's like, "Okay." It ends the song. So we finish, and I'm like, I'm mortified. So I have to tell the bar staff now, who are my friends, because I played there for years. "Hey, I threw up. I'm really sorry." And you know what they did? They handed me a mop. "Here you go. Take care of it." So I had to mop.
You made the mess, you clean the mess, buddy. That's how it works over here.
I did. Yeah, that was.
You're the guy driving the van, so it's not too much whiskey. It's just straight up overheating.
I just overheated. Yeah, I mean, I was I would do silly things in those days because we would play. I would play 13 nights in a row sometimes, and cover gigs and whatever, pub gigs and band stuff, and I would not temper my voice in any way. Like I gave it at the Saddle Dome last time we played with Luke Bryan. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was the same to me. And
when the mic cut out, by the way, on your very first song, and you had to, again, the show must go on moment.
Show must go on.
Stories from you. Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. Yeah. And so it was like, it was my own fault for just giving her too hard. Like I just gave it too hard,
I love it. And then, can you tell us anything about the album upcoming? Or are we just going to leave that vague for now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can tell. I mean, it'll be later on this year. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, for a guy like me, we try to line these things up with touring. So I think that, we've got to get a little bit more confidence in the live music thing again before we do a full-on release. But who knows? Like in the meantime, the train's got to keep rolling, and I'm in the throes of writing. Like I write every day this week. Today is an exception. I'm on the promo train today, but writing tons, lots of material around, and we got a few tricks up our sleeves as well. So. I think you'll see something sooner than later is what I'm trying to say.
Give me a song you've written recently that you walked away from that right and you were thinking, holy man, that's something else.
Oh, okay. That's a good, okay. So I wrote a song with Tina Parole and Dave Thompson, who these are songwriter names. Artists would know them. Actually, they're both on Champagne Night. They both were a part of that song.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so #1 hit songwriters, and we wrote a song that I'm pretty excited about, especially because about midway through the write, we were like, "Oh, this would be a great duet." So, hopefully it comes to fruition that we're able to find a lady singer to join me on it, and hopefully it ends up getting cut and released.
Or me, if you need somebody, I'm always here.
I also wrote a song with Jeff Copeland the other day that I'm excited about called "Rolling Stoned." So I think that one's going to be a good one too.
5 guesses as to what that one's about. I want to get you out of here on this. I've been waiting to get you on to do this on video because you told me at one time, I've never forgotten this. Tim Hicks tells the greatest stories of all time. You really do. And I'll never forget this when the snowstorm, this bad weather in Nashville is happening. And I'm seeing cars slide down the street sideways and people freaking out and they're not prepared for it. No. And all I remember is Tim Hicks telling me about his very first time going to Nashville, loading up his 5-week-old baby, driving for 40 straight hours, and it was a snowstorm there. Tell the full story start to finish. We do a segment called My Nashville Story, and this is my favorite one ever.
Okay, yeah, okay. So my Nashville story goes like this. So to back up a little ways, I was a bar musician, had been for a long time, and I connected with my what became my management company and record company. The A&R rep, his name was Denny Carr at the time. He came to see me play at a bar in Hamilton, Ontario, like blue collar chicken wing bar, and invited my then super pregnant wife and myself. He sort of said, like, you kind of got your hands full. Yeah. When's the baby due? We said November. He said, okay, well, have the baby and let's come down to Nashville in the new year, and we'll just see what happens. We'll set you up with some rights and we'll go from there. So we literally like had him on November 22nd, and on January 5th, wrapped him in a blanket and drove the minivan to Nashville. And when we got there, the city was shut, getting ready, like bracing for a winter storm. Like they were really like, wow, snow is coming. And we stayed at the SoCan House, which is a free place to stay because we didn't have hardly any money. If you're a SoCan member, you can stay there for free. So we were set up there. We smuggled the baby in because you weren't supposed to bring babies there. And my wife went to Trader Joe's and came back and she said, "You're not going to believe this, but they had no milk and no bread and no eggs. Like the place, they said there's a snowstorm coming." I said, "Really? Well, in Nashville?" And they said, "Yeah." And the next day we woke up and there was literally a dusting of snow on the ground and the whole city shut down. It was like, what? And this happened to us 2 more times while we were there. We actually lived through 2 ice storms while we were in Nashville. And one in particular, I had a right. We were staying in East Nashville, and I had a right on Music Row, which is about a 10-15 minute drive. I had my pickup truck, and my right was with Derek Rattan, who's from Bracebridge, Ontario, which is like Northern Ontario, and JT Harding, who's from Detroit. So we wake up and they're like, city shut down, nobody's working, everything's canceled. And Derek texts me like, "Hey man, you still want to write?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, I'll make the drive if you'll make the drive." So we text JT. He's like, I live next to the office. I'll just walk over. So here we are. I'm driving down the I-65 in Nashville to get to Music Row, and I'm the only car on the road save from the National Guard Humvees.
That's crazy.
Like waving to the Humvees as I'm driving. Like here, you get the 2 Canadian guys and a guy from Michigan. They'll right in the middle of an ice storm. You know what I mean? There you go.
We'll end it on this though. So you got to Nashville. Your wife's at the SoCan House with your 5-week-old baby. You go to the meeting wearing what? And your wife said,
"Okay, so that part of it."
My favorite.
We got into a big fight the night before because, all week long they were ramping me up. You're gonna meet on Friday. You're gonna sing for Ron. Now Ron is the big guy, the head guy, Ron Kitchener. He's my manager now. I'd never met him prior to that day, but Denny was winding me up. Like, on Friday, we're gonna go in the office. You're gonna sing for Ron. Don't say anything. I'll do the talking. You don't say anything. You just sing. Okay. All right. I get it. And the night before, my wife says, "Oh, it's a big meeting tomorrow. So what are you going to wear?" I'm like, "Same thing I always wear. T-shirt, baseball cap, my jeans." And she's like, "We came all this way to Nashville with a baby, and you're going to blow the meeting walking in there with your baseball cap and your jeans on? They're not going to take you seriously." I said, "Well, I don't know. I kind of think that they'll want to see me like how I dress, like who I am, like, anyway, big fight. Next day I roll in, we got the baby in the carrier, like in the front, and I'm going, "Please don't cry, please don't cry." And I go into the meeting and the meeting's going well. And I walk in and Ron goes, "Baseball cap, huh?" "Yeah, I've been looking for a guy with a baseball cap."
There was best "I told you so" moment in your entire relationship.
Greg, the only one. The only one ever. It's like, that's the only time ever that I was like, "Oh, I was right." And I haven't been right since. So that's okay. But it was just like, it was just a sign of the times. Like, I was from Ontario. I didn't grow up on a ranch. We would wear, like, I would do country shows and we would put on cowboy hats because, we were working musicians, and it was the same band. It was Rob, it was Doug, me, and Andrew. So the same guys that are in the band now, but you could hire us. Like, we could do a whole night of rock, a whole night of country, a whole night of Irish music. I could do,
you got the tickle trunk like Mr. Dress Up. We can be whatever you want us to be. Yeah.
We needed to keep the lights on. We would do anything you wanted to get your gig. You know what I mean? And that's how, and eventually we just said, I want to do country, and that's what we focused on. But there was a time when you could do all those things, and the only difference was how we dressed. So if it was a country
different hat for different occasions,
put on the ties and the hat and the you know, the Stetsons and go out and play. And then if it was the Irish thing, we had our, you know, Irish newsy hats and we'd play Great Big Sea and all that stuff. And then if it was the rock band, then it was like, you know, we would just sort of dress normal or whatever. But
what you're wearing now, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it was an interesting time, that's for sure. And I'll never forget it. Like the first year we played Boots and Hearts, on the poster, you know, there was like 40 acts. I was the only guy with a baseball cap. So it was kind
and
of,
look at you now.
Yeah, right.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for taking time with me. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to spin the new music. I can't wait to see when the album might be coming out. And honestly, I just can't wait to see you in person again, because this Zoom stuff's getting old, but I appreciate it.
Here's when I can make it out there. That's for sure.
Awesome, brother. All the best to the family, and we'll chat soon, okay?
You too. Say hi to the team.
See you, Tim. Thanks.
See you later, brother.